Great. All right. Okay, we have actually two presenters this evening. First will be myself, and then of course on the other side of the virtual room, I have Vivian. Vivian is actually a student and also a long-time friend of mine. I think we actually keep very well together. We have presenting similar psychology topics in the past. So today, please invite her again to join us for this monitor sharing session. Okay, because we promised to start at 7:30, I wouldn't want to hold everyone back too much. Okay, and just want to make sure that everyone is on the right webinar. Introduction to Schizophrenia. Okay, will be today's topic. And before we start, I want to do a quick run through with you a bit more about who will be presenting. This is myself. Okay, a bit on my background, which you can see on screen. Okay, however, tonight's webinar is not so much about me, but rather once again it's about you. Okay, because I would like to have a more interactive discussion with everyone in the room, especially on this actually very serious topic. Before we start further to talk about the contents, I will just want to put a few disclaimers ahead of time. I think first, as we go through actually some of the contents later, you are going to come across some of the symptoms that is experienced or encountered by schizophrenia patients. Okay, and if you happen to be one of them, okay, or you suspect that you are actually experiencing some of these symptoms, okay, I would like to trouble you to seek professional help. So this is not a cause, neither is it actually a solution towards your identified mental concerns. So for those who are really actually feeling a bit troubled by the symptoms, okay, please seek professional help early. So Vivian and I, we will actually be taking this webinar forward more as a academic form of study. Okay, so we'll be doing a quick introduction about schizophrenia. We'll be talking about symptoms. We'll be talking a bit on cure. We'll be talking a bit more about the cause associated with schizophrenia, so on and so forth. Okay, so without further ado, let's talk about schizophrenia. So what is schizophrenia? Okay, this is actually a very, very serious mental disorder, which is always misportrayed by the media, as well as the general public. Okay, because a lot of people, when they look at schizophrenia, in Mandarin is known as 精神分裂症. Okay, schizophrenia itself is always actually being wrongly associated with some other psychotic disorders. So to understand schizophrenia, I will have to take you forward to understand how this term comes about. This term was created, okay, by a Swiss psychiatrist in 1911, okay, and his name is 𝗟𝗏. 𝗟𝗏 actually created this term, schizophrenia. And when you look at schizophrenia, the term itself, okay, let me just backspace a bit. Okay, when you look at schizophrenia, once again, it actually means split mind. Okay, it's a Greek word. It's a combination of two words into one. Schizo means split. Phrenia means mind. So when you combine these two words together, okay, literally, if we take the English meaning of it, schizophrenia means split mind. Okay, this is actually where a lot of misperceptions, a lot of wrong associations comes about. To the media, many times, schizophrenia is always wrongly associated with bipolar. Okay, why? Because bipolar is actually split personalities. Okay, and because of the word schizophrenia in Greek, okay, and we convert back to English, it means split mind. So people start to think split mind equals the same as of mental disorders. Okay, and I will talk a bit more about actually the bipolar later on, how it deviates. Okay, so myth one. Okay, we earlier said schizophrenia means split mind. So one of the common myths out there is that people think when think of schizophrenia, they think that people have two very different personalities. Okay, now I'm happy, the next moment I'm sad, this moment I'm excited, next moment I'm very depressed. Okay, this is bipolar. And bipolar comes under dissociative identity disorders, which is a different type of disorders. Schizophrenia do not go through this edgy roller coaster of emotions and moods. Schizophrenia, most of the time, they will only have one common mood. Okay, so I want to be very clear here. Schizophrenia is not split personality. Okay, so today, this is the first takeaway for everyone in the room. Okay, and most of the time, because they do not have split personalities, okay, they always get wrongly associated. This is a proper definition of schizophrenia. Okay, it's a long-term psychological condition that affects the way that a person thinks. Okay, you can think of it like chronic illness because it's very, very long-term. And by the way, there's no cure for it. So when you look at definition, I think the keyword here is long-term. I think second is a psychological condition. It happens in the mind, not so much about the physical being, but very much on the mind. Okay, all right. The illness, okay, has three main characteristics. You have paranoid, you have actually hallucinations, you have delusions, and because of combination of this, it impacts very greatly on a person's ability to function, ability to live every day as a normal human being. These are the three aspects of the characteristics. Okay, I'm going to deep dive into each one of them, give you a bit of example. First, we have delusion, we have muscle hallucination, we have disorganized thinking. So what's delusion? Delusion is when you actually think of something and you believe in something that is factually not there. It's non-existent. Okay, and it's actually very irrational. These ideas itself, okay, there's no logic. You wrongly associate that, okay, and cultural norms, society do not embrace such of this thinking or such of these thoughts. Okay, in delusion, one example, in some of the literature I come across, there was a guy, okay, and this is captured in some of the literature works. There is a guy who thinks that he is a tiger in human form. So he's human being, okay? But because he has schizophrenia, he thinks that he is a tiger, but trapped in a human body. Okay, this is delusion. That means he's still.
You're frozen, Stanley. Yes, now we can hear you.
Sorry about it. Apologies. Okay. Sometimes actually the internet connection just happens to disrupt everything. So once again, I'll come back. Okay, or I should say probably I should be welcoming myself back. Okay. So earlier, which part do you all feel to hear me? Hallucinations.
You stop at the tiger, the person.
Okay.
Delusion. Yeah.
Okay. Delusion. I just want to do a quick recap. Delusion is when human beings, okay, some human beings think that they are tiger trapped in human body. Okay, but of course they're human beings, right? So that's an example of delusion. Hallucination is actually when you depend on your senses, usually your eyes, your ears. Okay, you are portraying something or you think something is happening, but it's not there. Nobody else can see it, nobody else can hear it. So it has to do with your senses. These are generated by the person himself. So the external environment, other individuals do not generate this at all. But the person who's suffering from hallucination thinks that it's that. Okay, so it has to do with your senses. 70% are audio in nature. Right? So the last one is disorganized thinking. Okay, disorganized thinking is not just being disorganized in nature, where you just put your things everywhere. Disorganized is in the train of thoughts. You lack logic. You lack a systematic flow, okay, of your thought process. You can't string simple things together, not even proper sentences. Okay, so disorganized thinking is the third characteristic. Okay, that is experienced by people with schizophrenia. All right. Okay. Okay. So myth two. People with schizophrenia are always violent. Somehow or rather, the media, okay, the general public, always think that people with schizophrenia are very violent human beings. They go around beating people. Some of them commit murder. Some of them will actually resort to very violent acts. Okay. But this is where another myth comes about. people with schizophrenia, unfortunately, they are not that violent as you think they are. Okay, they are not always violent, because if they are violent, that's a result of their mental condition, plus the condition of two other things: addiction. One, drugs. Second, alcohol. So we have drugs and alcohol combined. Even in a normal human being, you will resort to very rash acts, let alone someone with schizophrenia. So schizophrenia, when you see some violent acts itself, it doesn't come in isolation. It's not because of their human nature to be violent. It's because of some other additional substances that's adding on to their aggression. Okay. So
sorry, Stanley, can I interrupt a bit? Your
yes.
slide, can you show the full screen, because it's not on the full screen? So yeah.
It's on full screen on my side, Vivian.
Yeah, on our side it's not.
It's not.
A few of them has feedback. Yeah.
Okay. Let me just.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Can you see?
Yeah. No, it's still not full screen.
It's full screen for me. Can you see? Is it full screen?
We cannot see the slide now. Yeah. Sorry, guys, interruption.
Okay. Tell what I will stop sharing first, then I will share again. Okay. Just bear with me a while, right? Just bear with me a while. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, it's
Yes.
all now. Yeah.
Now it's better, right? Okay. Okay. Thanks a lot. But you're catching what I was saying earlier, right? Okay. So I was talking about this. Okay, about the combination of different substances together with their mental condition. Okay. A study, okay, by actually this foundation reveals, okay, actually in comparison, when you compare schizophrenia with many other types of psychotic disorders, people with schizophrenia are not as violent. In fact, they are more dominant. Okay, people with depression are actually much more violent in comparison to people with schizophrenia. So it's a very big contrast. The general public thinks that, okay, yeah, schizophrenia because it's scary, you know, it's violent, it is probably going to be very violent. But actually, when you look at a very thorough risk analysis, people with schizophrenia, in fact, they are not as violent as in comparison to others, which is deemed to be less harmless. For example, depression or bipolar. Bipolar is more scary, okay, more violent than people with schizophrenia. Okay. All right. So schizophrenia, okay, people who are diagnosed with this mental illness, chances are very high. Instead of them inflicting violence on others, they are the ones who are victims of violence. Okay. Some of you will be asking why. I thought, but yet actually they are victims. How does that come about? Because of four main reasons. Okay. One, people with schizophrenia, they often do not have a lot of money. So in other words, they're poor. They may not have any income. They may be surviving on very little means. They're very, very dependent on society's donation, very dependent on charity to help them out. Okay. Two, they are not able to work. Most of the time, they can't even hold a full-time job. Okay. They can't even hold a temporary job. So in other words, even if they want to work, nobody's going to hire them. And nobody is willing to give them a chance. Okay. Third, because of their mental illness, many times they cannot differentiate what is a safe neighborhood and what's not a safe neighborhood. In places where violence rates are high, they are probably actually staying there. Okay, and because of that, they end up being the victims of violence themselves. Okay. Okay. All right, and last, they are more vulnerable. Okay. Why are they more vulnerable? Because they can't really think on their feet. They have cognitive difficulties. Their symptoms itself stops them from behaving like a normal human being. And because of that, loved ones, okay, neighbors, okay, friends, if they do have a friend in the first place, okay, would actually use them as very convenient targets, okay, and try to do harm to them, even though they may not wish to. But because of frustration, sometimes they end up being actually bearing the full brunt. of such domestic acts. So these 4 reasons, okay, because of these 4 reasons, you see people with schizophrenia, okay, suffering from acts of violence rather than they being the aggressors themselves, right? Okay, I think in comparison, when I compare schizophrenia with other psychotic disorders, okay, most psychotics, they know what's happening to them. People with schizophrenia, they do not know what's happening to them. They do not know what's wrong with them. Okay, they can't tell you what's wrong with them. Okay, they are very aloof from the real world. They cannot communicate with you. They cannot string proper sentences together. They cannot tell you what's happening to them. They can't actually even decipher, okay, the meaning of everyday life. So this is one big difference between schizophrenia and the rest of the other mental disorders. Other mental disorders like depression, bipolar, yeah, they do know they are suffering from 1 or 2 symptoms, or probably they are patients of such illness. But people with schizophrenia, they cannot tell at all. Okay, right. So that brings me to actually a bit more. Next, I will be talking about the types of schizophrenia. Okay, a lot of people when I speak to, when I look at literature, I look at a lot of press adverts. Schizophrenia is conveniently lumped as one. Okay, but actually, when we deep dive into schizophrenia, there are schizophrenia. Okay, and these 4 types. First type, paranoia. Okay, paranoid schizophrenia. Okay, they suffer from hallucinations and delusions, right? They see, they think, they feel something that shouldn't be there. Second type, catatonic, a very interesting type of schizophrenia, okay, where such people will refuse to move. Okay, they will act like statues. They will not move for long hours. It's like their time is frozen. Their movements are frozen. They can just be standing there for 24 hours and they're not moving. That's catatonic. Okay. The other extreme of catatonic is when they are very, very super hyper. You want to rest them down, they can't. Okay, they'll keep on moving. They'll keep on actually putting their restlessness into action. So some people say that, oh, catatonic schizophrenia can also be wrongly classified as what? ADHD. Okay, it's different. Catatonic, most of the time, they want to stand still. So what happens if we shift them? Say from place A to place B. You move them from the table to the chair. You still maintain the same position. It's like you're talking to a stool. Okay? So catatonic schizophrenia is the same type. The third type, disorganized schizophrenia. Okay, in disorganized schizophrenia is usually their thought process, their way of composition, their speech, their behavior is very random, very erratic. Okay, that you cannot make sense of what they're doing. Right? And finally, the 4th type is what we call undifferentiated. Okay, undifferentiated is a 4th subtype. Okay, this 4th subtype is a combination of the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. So in different combinations, in different proportions. Okay, so 4th type, you can say that, oh, it's probably part of 1, 2, and 3 combined. Yes, that's a 4th type. Okay, so these 4 types of schizophrenia is found in DSM-4, which is the 2nd latest edition, okay, of the Bible of psychological disorders. So it's not the latest. The latest, which is DSM-5, okay, no longer classifies or subdivides schizophrenia into 4 types. Now, when you look at DSM-5, okay, when you flip, there's only 1 type of schizophrenia. But in DSM-4, there are 4 subtypes. Okay, so it depends on what literature you're referring to. Sometimes it can be very confusing. How come in the earlier version there are 4 types and then now it becomes 1 giant type? It just doesn't change too much. So what the psychiatrists have done is that they combine all 4 into 1 main type now. Because catatonic, okay, and undifferentiated, type 1, type 3 is more right?
Frozen again.
Okay, before you need to make a new friend, Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Vivian, can you hear me?
It froze. It froze.
Yeah, not very clear.
Hi, Vivian.
Hello. Hello.
It's on and off, and you're frozen again, Stanley.
I think it's frozen.
Yeah.
I'm worried about the technical problems.
Có internet thôi.
Guys, thank you for all your questions. We'll try.
Hi, can you hear me?
As much as possible.
Yes, Stanley.
Oh, sorry. Is it better now?
Yes,
much
better.
Sorry about that. Okay, sorry. I think the internet connection today itself is not doing very, very well. Okay. So while you can hear me, I'll try to cover as much ground as possible. So I may go on and off. Sorry about that once again. Okay. For those who can hear me, I would like you to meet a friend, a new friend. Her name is Sylvia. Okay. And Sylvia, okay, has a very interesting background. Okay. She was diagnosed at age 15 with schizophrenia. First diagnosis. Second, she has been in and out of psychiatric facilities. So hospitals, psychiatrist clinics, you name it, she has done it. Okay. All right. She was not able to hold on to any job for any period of time, even if it's 1 day. No way. It's out of question. She cannot work at all. Okay. She has personal hygiene and deterioration in appearance. Okay, when we say personal hygiene, we're not just talking about not taking a
Sorry,
shower.
Stanley. Are you sharing your slides? We can't see.
Can you see?
Yes, now we can
Yes.
see.
Yes,
Sorry
we can
about
see.
that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Apologies, once again. Okay, so but you can hear me earlier, right?
Yes, can hear.
Okay, good. Okay, so I will not go backtrack. Okay, I'll just talk about the personal hygiene and appearance. So here, when we talk about personal hygiene, we are not talking about just not taking a shower for a day. We are not talking about not taking a shower for a week. Okay, when we say personal hygiene, in this case, Sylvia does not wash herself. That means she probably forgot when's the last time she ever washed her face, she had a shower whatsoever. Okay. She also actually doesn't have basic hygiene habits. She doesn't cut her nails. She doesn't actually wash her hand, especially during COVID now. Okay. And her appearance is kind of weird. She puts on very heavy makeup. Okay, randomly. Okay, so heavy that sometimes the colors doesn't match. She combines red with green, green with yellow, yellow with purple. So she looks very weird. Okay, at first look. She also doesn't wear any matching clothes. Okay. So her top could be a bright orange, her bottom could be actually a rainbow color, okay, bottom. So it doesn't combine very well. And most of the time, she will wear oversized clothes. Okay, so her personal hygiene and appearance is no longer like a normal human being. Okay, she will also actually move on, okay, occasionally by telling you she hears things. She hears voices. She hears people talking to her. She has an imaginary friend that's giving her advice all this while. Okay, but it doesn't happen all the time. Sometimes she hears them, sometimes she doesn't. Okay, her thought process is very random. She tells you things, okay, that you'll be like, huh? What are you talking about? Okay, huh? I don't understand what you're saying. So this is Sylvia. Okay, and Sylvia wants to be a friend, wants to be your new friend. Okay, and you're kind enough, as a very kind human being, you don't mind, to talk to Sylvia, and Sylvia starts to have the first conversation with you. Okay, this is the result of her first conversation. Okay, I'll give everybody about 2 minutes to do some speed reading. Okay. Remember, this is the first composition, the first words that come out from Sylvia's mouth. Okay. So when you read through, you'll be like, what are you talking about? Does it even make sense? Okay. We are going to go through point by point. Okay, in this particular composition from Sylvia displays a number of characteristics of a schizophrenia patient. Okay, so what are they? Let's go through line by line. Okay, first, Tom Cruise wants to marry me. Okay, so if I have Tom Cruise, I don't need to love David Beckham. Tom Cruise is St. Nicholas, and then Maharishi is Santa Claus. Anyone who can tell me there's very clear linkage? Anyone? Do you understand what she's saying? Yeah, she's involving so many different people, right? She's involving Santa Claus, she's involving Maharishi, she's involving a scene, St. Nicholas, she's also actually including David Beckham and Tom Cruise in the first 3 lines. Okay, this is actually illusion. Okay, illusion of what? Illusion. They think they are someone. Okay, they think they are very, very, very important, although they are not. Okay, they are so important that celebrities want to marry them. They are so important that they think that they can communicate with God. They can actually conveniently attribute their behavior to someone. Okay, so this is a form of delusion of grandeur. Next, she says that she wants to form a rock group. Okay, David Beckham wants her to be the music critic on Eyewitness News. So she has to go to listen to her boyfriend. But earlier, who's the boyfriend? Is it Tom Cruise? Is it David Beckham? Is it Santa Claus? Or is it Rishi? Okay, and gospel rock group. Okay, and then plus a music critic. So something doesn't connect. Okay, so she's having a bit of hallucination, okay, because of audio. Third, she says that Jackie Chan told me of my ugliness. Okay, and Jackie Chan is a superstar, right, in the Chinese movies. Okay, she also thinks that she's pregnant with the Son of God. Okay, and finally she says that, they are eating the patients here. Here, she's once again showing illusion of grandeur. Okay, because she thinks that she is Son of God. Okay, she's pregnant with the Son of God. Okay, hallucination because she thinks that the psychiatrists, that's treating her, or the mental hospital staff are eating the patients inside the mental hospital. And then she goes on, she said that she's Joan of Arc, who's a female warrior, okay, from France. And then concurrently in the next follow-up sentence, she thinks she's Florence Nightingale. She's out to save lives. So it's a very big contrast. On one hand, she goes in war, or in the next sentence, she saves lives. Okay? And then finally, she talks about where she is. She talks about the door between the ward. She's stuck in the hospital ward. Porch is actually the car porch. Okay? And the door in between is the dividing line between New York and California. So anyone who have been to the United States will know that New York is on the East Coast, California is on the West Coast. And in between is what we call the Midwest. It's a very, very big region. Okay, thousands of miles apart. And here she says that the door is the divider. Okay, and she says forget about zip code, doesn't matter. Okay, so here she's once again showing disorganized thoughts. Okay, and finally, okay, once again, hallucination. Okay, she thinks that she needs shock treatments. She thinks that her body runs on electricity. Okay, she functions on electricity. Without electricity itself, she can't work. Okay, so here in a very, very, very short paragraph, okay, conversation with Sylvia. Okay, Sylvia has shown one thing. This is word salad. Okay, so when you have a random list of words, sentences with no meaning with each another, they are just put together very loosely with no meaning to the listener. This is what we call word salad. Okay, in psychology terms. Okay, so you'll be asking, then how about clan associations? Okay, kind
Can you
associations.
repeat that, Stanley? You say the disassociation, that one, the
Okay,
first.
this association, this is when, okay, you're talking about the kind association, right?
No, the first statement, you say
Okay,
word
word
salad or
salad.
something?
Okay, word salad is
Oh,
when
word salad. Okay,
yeah,
I
word
I
salad
hear
is
it
when
as
you
word salad. Okay,
no,
all
word
right.
salad. Okay, kind
Thank you.
associations, okay, is when you put words that rhymes together. Okay, but they are not linked. Okay, for example, you can actually put words. Okay, it's just like a poem. You put words together, you try to make sense of it. Okay, and the speaker speaks out to you. But when you're the listener, you realize that none of these words really do connect at all. So these are two things. Okay, word salad and kind associations. These two are displayed by the third type of schizophrenia patients, which is under disorganized, okay, disorganized schizophrenia. Okay, so after that, we want to actually look at, besides the types, we talk about the term, we talk about the needs. Now I need to actually share with you about what causes schizophrenia. Okay, a lot of people actually try to do a lot of research about what goes wrong. Okay, schizophrenia, there are 4 possible causes. Okay, when we say possible, why? Because today experts cannot nail down what is the exact cause of schizophrenia. They think it's because of these 4 main areas: physical factors, genetic factors, psychological factors, and environmental factors. We are go deep into each one of them to give you an overview. Okay, why is this a possible cause? I'm not going to focus so much on physical factors, because physical factors has just to do with the human body. In patients, okay, diagnosed with schizophrenia, many of them have one common underlying chronic illness. Which one is that? Okay, it has to do with diabetes. Okay, people who suffer from diabetes, 70% of them, okay, may have a probability of developing schizophrenia. So let's be clear, schizophrenia doesn't cause diabetes, but diabetes may cause schizophrenia because your body starts to go wrong. Okay, it starts to have very weird thoughts about what's happening in your body. So as it goes untreated, it may eventually become schizophrenia. Okay, so we're going to talk about genetic factors, which has to do with the genes, the DNA. We're going to talk about psychological factors, what goes on in the brain structure. And then finally, we're going to talk about environmental factors. Okay, so talking about actually the brain. So how does brain structure for people with schizophrenia differ? I'm a healthy, normal human being. You put one person with schizophrenia beside me. You do an MRI scan into our brains. What can you see? This is the result of an MRI scan. Okay, so normal human being like us, you and me, all right? This is the one on the left. This is our MRI scan. Okay, this is the result of someone on the right. Okay, a scan of someone with schizophrenia. Okay, I want you to pay attention to the middle portion of the brain structure. Okay, this is a part of the brain, what we call ventricles. Okay, ventricles is the column, is the hollow, okay, between the left brain and the right brain, where fluids, okay, your brain fluids are transmitted. Okay, so it's to protect your brain structure, your brain cells, etc. So in ventricles, a normal human being versus someone with schizophrenia, someone with schizophrenia would have a loss of brain tissues. Okay, so we realize that the hole here is bigger, the ventricles is a lot wider, the hole is bigger by 30% minimum. So in other words, their ventricles is 30% larger than normal human beings. This is a part of psychological, okay, brain structure that's going on. But is this the only creating cause? No. We are going to dive into other factors. Okay, when we do a gene studies, okay, by studying twins, by studying first-degree relatives and adoption studies, we find that if you have a first-degree relative with schizophrenia, This could be your parents, it could be your siblings, okay, where you share the identical genes, right? The chances of you developing schizophrenia jumps up by 10%. Okay, I'm not saying that if you have a twin sister, you have a twin brother, or you have a sibling, or you have your parents, you definitely will develop schizophrenia. But the chances of you getting this increase by 10%, okay, versus normal family. Okay. If you are actually an identical twin, that means you are one of the twin, identical twin pair couple. Okay. Maybe your identical twin sister or twin brother has schizophrenia. There's a 50% chance that you will get it as well because you share the same genes. So in gene studies, when they have identical genes, their probability will go a lot higher, right? So here we are talking about the genes, genetic factors. Last and not least, environmental stress. Okay, we don't actually stay in isolation. Every day when we go to work, when we commute, when we study, when we interact with others, or even when we put ourselves under very stressful conditions, okay, we subject ourselves to environmental stress. Some of these environmental stress are attributed to maternal stress during pregnancy. Okay, some of you will hear of prenatal depression or postnatal depression, right? But in schizophrenia, okay, it is not resulting in prenatal or postnatal depression, but rather maternal stress. This stress that was actually coming as a result of pregnancy would cause, okay, some viral infections. Sometimes it will just go wrong. You create maternal viral infection, and during different trimesters of pregnancy, it will result in your child or in your offspring becoming, okay, diagnosed with schizophrenia when they get older. So it is actually environmental stress that's coming to play. So some people ask, oh, then can you tell me, is it the first factor, second factor, third factor, or fourth factor? It's a combination. Sometimes genes matter, sometimes stress matters, sometimes the human body makeup matters. Okay, all of these factors contributes to schizophrenia. Okay, and then next we're going to go into symptoms. Okay, so how do we tell someone is suffering from schizophrenia? We will have to be actually putting on our clinical mindset. Okay, we have to function as a psychiatrist or probably a medical doctor, where we are on the lookout for certain symptoms. Okay, there are two types of symptoms. Okay, first type, what we call positive symptoms. Okay, in positive symptoms, they are psychotic in nature. These are additions. That's the reason why they use the word positive, a plus. Okay, someone's mental state shouldn't have this, but because a result of schizophrenia, they are displaying new ways of thinking and behaving that wasn't there before they got the condition. So it's a plus sign, and it's an add-on. Okay, these are three of the positive symptoms, and then you actually hear voices occasionally all the time, or all the time. Okay, you have feeling sensations and illusions, which we talked about earlier. So when you talk about hearing voices, it could be in the form of imaginary friend. Okay, it could be people who tells you, pick up that stupid actually piece of paper on the floor, you stupid bitch. So you know that this person doesn't exist. Okay, maybe when you look, this person is not physically there, but something in your mind is telling you, go and pick up, and this person is talking to you. Okay, this voice is talking to you. It happen, or it could always be happening all the time, right? The second type, feeling sensations. You may find that, I somehow rather I just get this very unpleasant sensation. I think there are worms, okay, there are creatures crawling under my skin. I just don't feel safe. I need to be very protected. I need to sanitize my hand every day, all the time. I constantly go for shower. Okay, remember, some of you may say, this is what? OCD. Okay, this is not OCD. OCD is that they keep doing something repeatedly. Okay, but feeling sensation will never go away. They always find that something is below the skin. Okay, they may think that someone is following them. So these are senses that's playing tricks with you. And then we talk about delusion earlier, where I give the example of a human trapped, a tiger trapped in a human body. Okay, sometimes delusion could also, like earlier I talked about delusion of 𝗟𝗂𝗧. You may think that you're Superman. You may think that you're Batman. You're out to save the world, but you're not. But your delusion tells you you're Superman. Okay, you're here to save the world. Right? Factual versus non-factual. And then another 3 types of symptoms: hallucination, things that are not there. You see ghosts. Okay, you actually think that there's someone that's following you when there's nobody. Okay, you could smell or taste things that would not be identified. You always find that there's a weird smell lingering in the air, but when you check it out, there wasn't anything. It's just actually odorless. But you think that there's something that lingering in the air. You could always feel that you're being watched, you're being placed under surveillance. Okay, the government probably taps a phone. The government probably actually sends spies to follow you everywhere you go. They look at every single action that you have. They document every single thing you're doing. But that's not true. But you always feel that someone is watching you. Someone is observing you. Okay, and someone is trying to find issues with you. But these are all the positive symptoms. So when we say them psychotic, because this shouldn't even happen. But because they're add-ons to your mental state, you think that, okay, you act as if they're there. Right? Let's move to a second category, what we call negative symptoms. Negative symptoms are known as withdrawal symptoms. Okay, something is missing, something is being taken away from you. That's why the word withdrawal comes about. In category 2, there's a loss of function. There's a loss of thought process or behavior that a healthy human being should have. And this will include 𝗟𝗂𝗧. Okay, you can't communicate with people. Every single word that you use or every single sentence that you string together doesn't make sense. Earlier, I just shared with you word salad. This is one form. Pen associations is another form. Okay, and because they find it very difficult to talk to normal human beings, okay, they would rather not talk. Even if they talk to themselves or they talk to their imaginary friend. Okay, 𝗟𝗂𝗧 is one symptom. This organization, we talked about it earlier, where you randomly put on makeup, you wear oversized clothes, you don't care about your hygiene, you don't care about your health, reckless things. These are this organization work. Okay, and the third type is asociality. Okay, this means I do a complete withdrawal. I want to be isolated on purpose. Okay, I don't want anyone to come near me. I don't want anyone to interact with me. I don't want to be involved in any activities that involve a second human being. And because of asociality, most of the time, someone diagnosed with schizophrenia, right, and if they do suffer from this symptom, they will always be at home. They will try to function at home. They will be watching TV all the time. They will always think that, somehow or rather the world is out to harm them. They don't want to talk to anyone. So this is when someone completely withdraws himself from human society. Okay, and the fourth symptom will be poor memory. They have very, very poor thought process. They cannot concentrate. They always seem to forget something or seem to lose focus, even though it's a very, very simple task. Okay, so this is a 4 negative symptoms, followed by 3 other negative symptoms. Okay, anhedonia, which is frightened emotion. Okay, square face. No matter what happens, even when you are doing something that you love, it could be a hobby, it could be a favorite food that you're having, your expression is the same. There's no expression. Okay, your book, there's no ups and downs. It's just one constant straight line. Okay, anhedonia is when they cannot feel pleasure completely all the time. Okay, 𝗟𝗶𝗸𝗲 is when they don't have willpower, they don't have motivation to do the simplest things in life. You ask them, go and pick up your food. They have no interest. They are not interested. They don't have willpower, okay, to do simple acts, okay, that any human being can do. Okay, even switching on the TV, they're probably not interested. Okay, tiredness. Okay, because of all the symptoms coming together, most of the time they are very, very much suffering from fatigue. And because of fatigue, they always come across as someone who's they need a lot of rest. Most of the time they're sleeping. They rather sleep their time away. Or they try to hide in the hidden corner of the house. Hopefully you don't see them. And that way they can rest. But these are all in the mind. Okay, it may not be factual. Okay, they probably have 10 hours of sleep, but they still feel tired. Okay, so these are the 7 negative symptoms. Earlier I shared a lot more positive symptoms. Remember, this is not exhaustive. Okay, I've only actually included the major symptoms of schizophrenia. Okay, and why is it so difficult to make it an extensive list? Because when it comes to a diagnosis of schizophrenia, there are 2 actually different interpretations. One is by ICD, okay, International Classification of Diseases for World Health Organization, WHO. So that's what the medical doctors prescribe to, the psychiatrists prescribe to. The second type is what we call DSM-5. Okay, DSM-5 is the Bible of psychological disorders, adopted by psychologists and mental health professionals. In these 2, okay, there's a lot of overlap. But in each of these books, they have something about 10 symptoms. Okay, most of them are quite common. Okay, like for example, hallucination, as well as delusion is all found in both books. Some of those there's a bit different, but generally I've included all the common ones, the major ones, okay, for your thought. And moving on, once you understand which are the positive and negative symptoms, okay, I would like to ask, how do you go about and diagnosing schizophrenia? Okay, and I'll take a temporary break here, passing on to Vivian, okay, my co-speaker. Okay, Vivian, I guess you have a question for them.
Yes. Hi everyone. I know you have a lot of questions. We try and answer. So let's go on. Let me share about some of my experiences. I've been in psychology work for the past more than 10 years, in fact. So I've seen quite a number of cases. In fact, the number of patients in 7 years in my therapy work, I see about average 10 to 15 cases a week. So can be up to appointments a week. So the cases could be like few hundreds to thousands of cases by now lah. Okay, right now I have slowed down on all this therapy work. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share a few cases, then let you identify to see. I mean, I know Stanley has given you the cake lah. Let me just put the icing. Y'all can be the therapist or the psychologist or whatever you name it to see whether this patient has schizophrenia or anything. Okay, so I'm going to share some of my live cases, which there's a lot lah. So I'm going to pick up a few. Okay, patient 1, all these names are fictitious. So yeah, Susan, she came into the center and she say, some of them call me teacher. I said, Teacher Vivian, because the center we do courses as well. So she said, Teacher, I think I have a problem. So I said, how can I help you? I think I have a lump in my breast. Okay, that's what Susan started off. I said, how come you discover that you have a lump in your breast? She said, oh, they put something on me. They screen me. Okay, so do you go for a medical test? They screen you? Susan said, no, they put a device in my body. Okay, Susan behaved very normal upon conversational and all. She doesn't look like somebody that's weird if you talk on a normal conversational day. So I said, how come there's a device in your body? Yeah, they keep looking at me using that device. I said, so what device and who put it onto you? Oh, the office people, they put that device on my body. How do you know about that device? You see, one day I was in the office, I seated in the desk, and then suddenly there was this repairman. They came and repaired the security system. Then very weird, there's this sound, then it came to my head, and the stopped right there. And I knew they planted something onto me to spy on me. So they can check my whole body, they can know what I'm doing every day. They spy on me every day. Okay, so this is what Susan experienced. So I said, how's your experience? You know that they spy on you? Yeah, they spy on me every day. Okay, so I want you all to guess. Now, whether is this a schizophrenia case or is she just other, other issues? Maybe y'all can help to guess. Then later I'll tell you what actually happened to Susan and what happens. Okay, is she really a schizophrenia patient? Yeah. You want to take a guess? You can use your speaker if you want to.
Probably not. Maybe other type of delusion or hallucination, but not quite schizophrenia, because she could relate to you. Normally, you say that it's not obvious, or it could be a beginning stage. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Anyone else want to? I think it's easier to chat rather than type because too much. Anyone else want to take a guess whether this patient is it schizo?
I think she is just inside. She just has anxiety issues.
Sorry, is what?
Which is, she just has extreme anxiety issues to the point where it's causing paranoia in work environment.
Okay. Anybody wants to take a share? Thank you. I don't know who's speaking, so I can't address you. I'm so sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, could it be delusion?
Okay, so delusion is one of the symptoms in schizophrenia. Yeah, yeah. Okay, yes, it is delusion because she's seeing things that's not possible. I mean, how could somebody plant something into your head? Okay, there's this very strong that differentiates her. She is diagnosed as schizophrenia. Why? Because there's this lost feelings of being controlled and being monitored. Okay, this is one of the greatest symptoms in schizo. Okay, all other symptoms, usually anxiety won't cause you to think that you're being controlled by others or people are spying you. Okay, this one very major symptom. So after that, we realized that something triggered her. What was the trigger was she stole something from the company. And then after that, the guilt evolves. Okay, the company let her go. She stole something that I think was some small stationery. Okay, the company let her go, but this event, she felt guilty. It triggered her some of the probably dormant, okay, schizophrenia. She triggered some of it already in there, and it becomes bigger. So she starts hallucinating, and she starts imagining things, and it goes on. So it has to be treated now. And all this, of course, I can't treat. I have to send them to psychiatrists, okay, for this. If without medication, they cannot be controlled now. So it has to be two-pronged medication plus some therapy work. Okay, later if you have questions, we continue. I'll share with case number 2. Is this case sharing good? I mean, y'all can actually get a feel of what happened, right? It's simple cases. Actually, it's more detailed, but we don't have time. Okay, Uncle Tom. I think Jonathan asked about some religious thing. Okay, Uncle Tom relates very, okay. Uncle Tom comes to the center. He say, I think there's some entity in my body. You know entities, he feels that he's being possessed. I said, what entity? Oh, they keep bothering me every time. They mess up my house, this and that, when I pray and chant, they smashed up my CD player. Okay, then Uncle Tom first session, this number of sessions already. So he said one thing, he said, they actually tell me there's 2 hellholes. One in Sengkang, okay, he's probably been there. Sengkang, where is it near? And the other one is in JB. So that's what exactly Uncle Tom mentioned. So they asked me to go JB to look for a master to help me take away, to help them. Okay, so my question is that, do you think Uncle Tom is schizo?
Yes.
Okay, anyone else want to have a take?
Yes, I think so too.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely yes.
So how do we tell whether he's schizo? I think Jonathan asked, right, or being possessed. Is there such a thing as possession? Okay. For him, actually quite scary because 2 weeks later when he can't see me, do you know that you tell me all this? He actually said, he's normal, He said that, I don't know, did I tell you all these things about hellhole and all this? So it's pretty freaky. I mean, it's eerie. Then he starts texting me all the weird things, and end up when I see him again, he said he's normal, he acted normal, and he didn't even know that he has this episode. So it can come on and off. It may not be all the while delusional. Okay,
then could be possession then.
No, I mean, of course, he has history of IMH. He has gone to IMH, deeper finding out after that. So he is schizo. Okay, so he has to be treated because he's imagining things that's not real. It's not real. All those things are his thoughts only. Okay, it's really not real because the family members we of course we find out from family members and all this. Okay, so of course then we send him. Okay, another case. Well, I'll do a quick one because it's time is short now. This one, your guess whether is it schizo? Okay, Annie comes to me. He says, I teach psychology topics in the poly lah. Annie is a student from poly. Say she has blood stain on her fingers. So obviously a bit of OCD. I don't know OCD. I won't explain further on that. Sometimes it can be mixed symptoms. So she said, I come here. She's not talking to anyone in the school. She's always isolated on her own because she's afraid of people. Okay, now she tells me that I asked her what happened. She said, I have this issue. I have been molested by a lecturer. Okay, it is true. Okay, it's a real case that has been published in the papers. And I keep thinking that all of them, all of my friends, they know about my case. And her OCD evolves because she keeps cleaning herself and also, yeah, she feels that she's dirty. The lecturer has been charged, and yeah. So then after that, she say, I keep thinking that everybody is looking at me. I don't want any friends. They all know me. I feel very embarrassed. Okay, so she has this hallucination. It's not true. She just switched from another school because of the incident. The lecturer was from another school. She has been transferred here to change a whole new environment. But yet she thinks that everybody in the world, whether she goes out in the restaurant or anywhere else, everybody is looking at her with a different eye because she has been molested by the lecturer. Now, my question is, so do you think this is a psychotic, this is a schizophrenia patient? Any takes from all of you?
I think it's more traumatic.
Okay, so yeah, you got it right on the spot now, because somebody asked me, can trauma goes into schizo? No, she can hallucinate, but hallucination, as somebody asked about psychosis, psychosis are just mental condition. So it can be hallucination, can be delusion, but it may not be a mental illness like schizophrenia. Okay, people like with bipolar disorder, depression can have episodes of psychosis as well. So the point here is that this girl, she has a trauma. So she's experienced PTSD and she starts to hallucinate things, and it's quite pitiful. She's only in her early 20s. So it's really bad. I think what the lecturer did to her. So it takes time for her. Therapy work has to be done. And of course, with her serious, her OCD is quite serious as well. It has to be treated. Okay. So thank you for your last case. This one is severe. When this girl came to my center, I asked her to sit down. She takes half an hour just to sit down. So I talked to her. She's in her early 20s. She couldn't spell her name properly. Okay, she's not born autistic or whatever, that's for sure. She don't have any brain damage or whatever when at birth. Okay, so it happens. It's a situational thing that later part in her life it happens. Okay, it evolves. It's not something that's born with, or they have discovered earlier. So it was some incident that happened. So she couldn't write. She takes 2 to 3 hours to eat. She couldn't bathe. She couldn't perform any normal activities. She is, take a long time. Not that she couldn't perform. Sit down half an hour, okay, imagine. So the rest of the things, she couldn't get on with her life. So she's between 20s, and for the rest of her life, she probably can't do anything but just learn how to live properly. Okay, is she a schizophrenia patient? Anyone? Okay, I see Saleh. Yeah, okay.
Saleh says catatonia.
Okay. Severe depression. Okay, no, it's severe depression. She actually is 23, but she probably only retired to age of like maybe 18 or 16. Yeah. So certain development has been distorted along the way. Okay. The doctor diagnosed as disorganized, like schizophrenia, but a point of disorganized is negative. So hers is it manifests in the body side. So she cannot sit properly. She cannot process certain information in her brain properly. But she's not like talking nonsense, all this, no. Okay. But she couldn't process certain things. There's gaps in her. Okay. And this one is triggered by some severe school issues lah. So I don't have time to elaborate further. So if you want next time, maybe next session we can share more. Cases sharing are interesting because these are live cases. Yes. So thank you for your contribution. Because of time constraint, I'm going to pass it back. Later we can have some more session if you want to stay back. Now I'm going to pass it back to Stanley to continue the session. Thank you everyone for all your contributions.
Sorry, cautious of time because now it's 8:30. And we committed to try to finish it in 1 hour. Looks like we have to overrun a bit. I hope that's fine for most of you. I don't have a lot more slides, maybe another 15 to go. So we should be finishing somewhere closer to about 9, if that's all right. Okay, so moving on. Okay, besides predicting, okay, which is what a lot of you have been doing with Vivian's cases, okay, there's a more proper way of diagnosing schizophrenia. To diagnose schizophrenia, okay, we use 2 methods. First method, clinical interviews. These are usually done by psychiatrists, okay, or sometimes even medical doctors. The moment they suspect that you probably are suffering from schizophrenia, they will take up the ICD, okay, the International Classification of Diseases, and start referring, okay, to see how many symptoms are you showing, and if you are falling into any of those symptoms. The second method is specialist checklist. That means you can take the book, ICD's book, or you take DSM-5, and then you start going through yourself, okay, as a layman. So these are 2 main methods used to diagnose. Not just like what you all were trying to do, like predict or guess, or trying to make informed decisions. That's not the right way. Okay, these are 2 proper methods. Okay, but it's a good try. Okay, so in such cases, the moment once the condition is diagnosed, the earlier you start the treatment, the better it is for you, okay, or for the patient, because that way the patient can save a lot of precious time and suffer less impact, okay, on many different fronts. Whether is it personal, whether it's societal expectation, or even actual work expectation, okay, he or she will have less of this impact, which makes the condition less problematic. Okay, and in all diagnosis, you realize that people who are diagnosed with schizophrenia, they cannot be cured. It's permanent. It will not go away. But you can manage them. Okay, you can manage schizophrenia so much that you can overcome that, okay, to function like a normal human being. Okay, the third myth, okay, is embedded in this slide. A lot of people think that people with schizophrenia, they're scary. They should be locked up. Okay, they should be locked up in IMH. They should be locked up in mental hospitals. Okay, but actually, people with schizophrenia, because they're not violent by nature. Second, if they want to, they can manage and overcome schizophrenia. So much that they can keep up, okay, with day-to-day expectations. But however, it's permanent. It will not go away. It's a chronic illness, okay, mental illness. All right. Okay, schizophrenia will be likely in 2 conditions, under 2 conditions. Earlier you heard the symptoms. However, because there are 2 different Bibles that's in use, one by the medical doctors or the psychiatrists, okay, for medically trained. 2 by psychologists and mental health professionals for therapies. And because of that, this is where the differentiation comes about. Okay, if you are a medical doctor, medically trained personnel, you'll be using ICD-10, okay, which is International Classification of Disease, okay, version 10. So in this book by World Health Organization, they say that you are diagnosed with schizophrenia if you experience 1 or more symptoms for 1 month. That means you can have delusion, you can have hallucination, you have disorganized thinking, you could even be catatonic by nature, but it must happen for at least 1 month. Okay, that's if you go to the hospitals, physical hospitals. But if you go to a psychologist or therapist, and this person starts referring to DSM-5, which is by the American Psychiatric Association, okay, you must display 1 or more symptoms for 6 months before you are diagnosed with schizophrenia. So here, this is where actually the 2 Bibles deviate. Okay, one Bible says You have this, yes, I just need to observe it for 1 month. Yes, once 1 month is up, you are diagnosed with schizophrenia. The other book, which is more commonly used by mental health professionals, DSM-5, you must experience it for 6 months. Okay, so here lies the problem. Someone who's probably with schizophrenia may go undetected, okay, for as long as 6 months if they have been to a mental health professional and not a medical doctor. Okay, so in this case, it is actually there's a small little gap, but it doesn't matter too much. I just want to show that a lot really depends, the diagnosis depends on who you go to. Okay, and this person is adopting which Bible, right? So that brings me to the next question. Okay, earlier we said schizophrenia. We share the symptoms, we talk about the term, we talk about the myths, we talk about some of the behavior, we talk about some of the types, but prevalence, how common is schizophrenia? Is it so scary? Is it really so common that we should be worried? Okay, and in psychological terms, we call it prevalence, the prevalence rate of schizophrenia. Okay, worldwide, 1.1% of the global adult population has schizophrenia. So if I use 7.9 billion times 1.1%, you have 7.9 million of us, human beings on Earth, that has schizophrenia. Okay, and this is a huge number, right? It's not as small as you think. It's not the isolated individual who has schizo. It is found in society. It is everywhere around the world. Okay, earlier I was looking at some of the chat sessions. I think Jonathan was asking a question, schizophrenia is only happening in the adult population. No, kids suffer from schizophrenia as well. Okay, so kids as young as 12, okay, they can be diagnosed with schizophrenia. It's just that the symptoms are not so explicit. Okay, they may have less effect. Okay, they don't actually, you can clearly classify them, this is the symptom, so on and so forth. They have less of such symptoms. Okay, but as they get older, all these symptoms becomes very visible and very observable as well. Okay, so you'll be saying, okay, 7.9 million around the world has schizophrenia, 1.1%, so what? Okay, how does it affect me? Well, some of you may be asking this question. So how about Singapore? Let's bring you to Singapore, right? We look at Singapore, a small little island country of 5.7 million people. 1 in 116 people had schizophrenia at one stage of their life. Okay, and we're talking about clinical schizophrenia. Okay, and according to actually studies done by IMH, the prevalence rate is about 0.86%. In comparison to the world average, right, of 1.1%, because our country is smaller, our prevalence rate is lower, slightly lower. Okay, but having said that, you're still talking about 48.9 thousand people in Singapore, Singaporeans or PRs or expats who are suffering from schizophrenia, okay, at one stage of their life. And 49,000 is not a small number, right? Okay, it's the second most common psychotic disorder in Singapore. Okay, ranked second. So Singaporeans like to rank, right? We also rank psychotic disorders. It's ranked second. So some of you will be saying, then who's first? Depression. Depression is first. Okay, so schizophrenia is second. So some of you will say, so what if it's common? So what if other people have it? Okay, and because of the common feature of schizophrenia, it is also the most serious form of psychotic disorders. Okay, so serious that the person who's affected cannot function very, very well. And these statistics are taken from IMH, okay, in their mental health study in 2016. Okay, that's about 5-6 years ago. It's a second proper national-wide study to study psychotic disorders. So very, very important. Schizophrenia is just part of Singapore society. Okay, so we'll be talking about incidence rate. Okay, some of you asked, okay, earlier is prevalence rate, it means how common it is. Second, now we are talking about incidence rate. Incidence rate means chances of you getting it. Okay, what are the chances of you getting it? Okay, when does schizophrenia set in? onset of schizophrenia. And I was looking at Jonathan's remark in the chat session. He mentioned some numbers. I think we did add on a fair bit in terms of age. Okay, but we can segregate this into two genders, males and females, males versus females. Let's look at males first. Okay, in men, schizophrenia comes in between the age of 15 to 25. Okay, so this is the common age when schizophrenia is diagnosed, is being observed. Okay, in women, okay, which happens about 10 years later, is from 25 to 35. That's the most common peak of schizophrenia. Okay, and some of you will be saying, oh, that means men actually get schizophrenia at a younger age, whereas women get schizophrenia at a later age of their life. Part of it is true, but it also depends on the life stage. You realize that earlier when I talked about actually environmental factors, okay, nature, maternal stress, okay, age of 25 to 35, this is when women are of childbearing age, correct? So some of them, okay, are more prone to schizophrenia, especially when maternal stress adds on to the burden. It worsens their conditions, health conditions. And about 75% of all cases in schizophrenia happens before 30. Okay, that means 3/4 of it happens before your age 30. The other 25% is after 30. Okay, and the most common period is adolescence, that means in your teen years, and your early adulthood, when you're in your early 20s. Okay, so there is a difference, okay, in the diagnosis of schizophrenia. If you're male, you get it earlier. If you're for women, you get it older. Okay, but fundamentally, other than just telling you about age, does it really matter? Okay, let's look at the difference between male and female when they are diagnosed with schizophrenia. In a male, okay, versus a female, male tends to have more negative symptoms. Females have more positive symptoms. That means add-ons. They hallucinate, okay, delusion, they suffer from delusion, they are more disorganized in terms of thinking. Whereas men are more actually aloof, they want to isolate themselves, they don't want to actually, they have no pleasure in life. So these are some of the negative symptoms that comes about from schizophrenia. Okay, and another characteristic, men suffers from this disorder much younger. Okay, but women have better response, okay, treatment response than men. That means they respond to schizophrenia treatment much better than men. Okay, some of you say, oh, well, expected because women are more sensitive. No, it's because women are more receptive. They're more emotional beings, okay, versus men. So men, they always try to put on a both front. I mean, even though someone has schizophrenia, they will still have this male instinct in them. Okay, they will say that, oh, I'm getting better, but actually they're not getting better. Women are more receptive. And because they're more receptive, they're more open, they have a better treatment response or outcome. Okay, men will suffer more long term. Okay, women will be able to shorten their mental illness much better. So they'll suffer from less symptoms. Okay, and in women, they are more likely to have a relative with the disorder for some reason or another. Okay, if I look at this, sometimes I attribute it to pregnancy. Okay, because pregnancy is the only one that's distinct between male and females. Okay, and sometimes this stress could really be a contributing factor to the onset of schizophrenia. So between the two sexes, male and female, they have differences. Okay, not only in terms of outcome, in terms of treatment, in terms of actually symptoms, but also in terms of age. Right? Okay, it brings me how to help. Okay, some people say how to treat. Okay, schizophrenia earlier I mentioned is not curable. Okay, it's permanent. So we can't really solve schizophrenia, but we can help people who are diagnosed with schizophrenia. Okay, there are psychosocial interventions available out there, and this comes into 6 forms. Okay, these are the 6 forms. So you have mental health teams, okay, that goes and help those people. You have medication, antipsychotics medication. Okay, you have CBT, and this is done by actually therapists, okay, where they will engage in individual CBT or sometimes group CBT. Okay, you have individual and family therapy. That means you get your family to be a bit more open, to be a bit more receptive, to help someone who is diagnosed with schizophrenia, so that he or she is really embraced as part of the family. Okay, and finally, social skills. And because you see, they are suffering from isolation. Many of them isolate themselves. Many of them cannot interact with people, cannot communicate. So you have to teach them some basic skills. Slowly, they will be able to be integrated back to society, part by part. Okay, so you need to give them some social training skills, like speaking skills, writing skills, okay, communication skills, and so forth. Okay, and last and not least, in the earlier slide, I said most of them cannot work, right? They cannot hold on to any full-time job. The best way to integrate them back to society is to get them to hold on to some actually meaningful work. Okay, so there's rehab. Okay, vocational rehab. You teach them very simple skills like cooking, maybe. Okay, you teach them sewing, right? Or even teach them actually simple things like putting things together. Okay, so employment is another way that society can come and help people with schizophrenia. So earlier, I cannot just deep dive into every one of this, okay, because each one of this is a big chapter is a big sub chapter on its own. So I can only give you an overview. Okay, but before I go on to the next slide, I just want to add, because earlier I heard Vivian and some of you talking about medication. Okay, medication. Okay, if you say psychiatrist prescribe someone with schizophrenia medication, medication is not effective if used as a standalone treatment, okay, or intervention. Normally, medication, okay, has to be combined with something else, okay, like for example, CBT. Okay, and research shows that when you have CBT combined with psychotic medication, plus actually social training skills, okay, the person with schizophrenia able to actually react, okay, and recover much better. So please do not use one of the 6. Okay, you should try to combine more. Okay, when you are helping people with schizophrenia. All right. Okay, and then cause of schizophrenia. Some ways are not interested in knowing why, not knowing how, not knowing what's the impact created on society. Right. Now we are going to talk about the cause of schizophrenia. Okay, schizophrenia is a very, very expensive, very serious, and very destabilizing disease. Okay, and here we're going to examine 2 fronts. First, okay, cost to society in terms of lives.
Stanley, you're freezing again. Stanley.
Can you hear me? Vivian?
Is his screen,
Yes,
his screen
yes, I
closed,
can
right,
hear.
guys?
Am I
I can
freezing?
hear you.
Can you hear me, right?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
Maybe you all don't mind. I can probably try to switch off my video, so it will probably be better.
Hmm?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Better, right?
Yep.
Okay, I'll switch back my video once we're done with the presentation. Sometimes the video does actually create a bit of lag. Okay, so coming back to this, okay, we're going to examine cost in 2 ways. First, cost to society in terms of lives. Okay, people with schizophrenia, more than half of them would attempt suicide. Okay, more than half. They would definitely try to end their life. You don't even need to predict. They will definitely try because of the stress, tremendous stress that's created on them, cast by society, cast by their loved ones, cast by the rejections of them as proper human beings. Okay, and of these 50% will try to kill themselves. 10% of them will succeed. Okay, so earlier we used a very simple mathematics. Okay, 49,000 of Singaporeans and PRs in Singapore are diagnosed with schizophrenia. At least half of them, that means we are talking about 25,000, will try to commit suicide. Okay, out of this 25,000, okay, will try to commit suicide, 2,500 will succeed in taking their own lives. That is a very, very expensive, okay, mental illness. Just imagine in terms of human lives. Okay, for those who like to know a bit more about the money, dollars and cents, okay, it's also expensive to society because in the United States, okay, Singapore doesn't measure, but in the United States it's measured. Okay, about 0.4% of America's GNP is lost as a result of a direct cause incurred by schizophrenia. Okay, patients with schizophrenia, they need to go to mental hospitals, staying for a long time. They need to be under medication. They need to see psychiatrists or medical doctors. And all this as okay, in absolute terms, is 22.9 billion US dollars just for this year. Okay, it's a very scary amount. It's 2.9 billion that's lost because of schizo. Okay, and that's the direct cause. How about the indirect cause? That sometimes as a result of loss of employment. That means someone with schizophrenia cannot work, right? Someone with schizophrenia have to depend on their loved ones, take money, or probably try to actually resort to crime, so on and so forth. Okay, when these are tabulated together, this is 1.6% of United States GNP, and that's 91.8 billion US dollars. Okay, so if you're talking about the absolute cost in economic terms, combine 22.9 plus 91.8, okay, and you get something like about 113 billion US dollars lost just because of this year as a result of schizophrenia. It's a very, very expensive mental health illness that society will have to eventually fork out. Okay, the bill is small, right? Not in terms of lives, but also in terms of dollars and cents. All right. Okay. This is my last slide. I just want to end off my presentation, okay, by sharing with you a bit more about the importance of schizophrenia. Schizophrenia today, okay, under WHO, is classified as number 14, okay, in terms of disability around the world. Okay, that means in terms of ranking, it's ranked 14. Okay, and you can see the split between high income countries and low income countries. Okay, what's the chances of someone, okay, who suffers from that? So here we are talking about prevalence rate, so and so forth. So you realize that because we are in a high income country, right? Okay, there's a 2.2% prevalence, okay, for people who are less than 60 years old, and a 0.4% of schizophrenia for someone above 60. Okay, and in this actually chart, I would like to point you to two other very disturbing forms of mental illness, okay, which is not in red, but in green. Depression, ranked worldwide. Okay, it's the third most common psychotic disorder. Okay, and also treated as a disability. And then number 12 is bipolar disorder. So earlier I hear there was a conversation between Vivian and some of the participants talking about bipolar, talking about depression. These are totally completely different. Someone who suffers from schizophrenia is not suffering from depression. Okay, someone who suffers from bipolar disorder could be suffering from depression. Did I confuse you? Okay, that means schizophrenia is a standalone. Whereas bipolar disorder and depression, they are very closely linked. Okay, so what is bipolar? I mean, for people who are interested in bipolar, bipolar is categorized by periods of ups and downs. It's like an emotional roller coaster. Okay, now I can go crazy. 1 second later, I'm very calm. And then the second, I'm very excited. The next moment, I'm very depressed. So that's bipolar. That is literally split personality. So I mentioned schizophrenia is not split personality. Split personality refers to bipolar. Okay, right? And then finally, depression. Depression is found in patients with bipolar disorder most of the time. It's a combination. But people who suffer from depression may not be suffering from bipolar, may not be suffering from schizophrenia. Okay, so these three are the top mental disorders, okay, by WHO.